All right, everyone is able to listen, so we can proceed. So first of all, I'm happy that you decided to join our session. And before we continue, I will just focus very quickly on the agenda of the topics that we will cover today. So in the consecutive order, we will start with a very short BIM recap. It will be relatively quick and brief, because I assume that some of you are already familiar with that. Some of them might not be. That's why it could be something like an intro for them. But in case you will have any detailed questions around the BIM topic, I think that we can postpone it to the Q&A session, which will actually be hosted at the very end of this webinar. But on today's webinar, apart from this quick BIM recap, we will focus about the ways how to promote the content of the manufacturers, how to promote the manufacturer product using the BIM technology. And during the session, we would like to cover two ways of doing that. One, which is pretty well known, which is the utilization of the modern BIM portals. I'm not planning to use any or commercial and specific BIM portals names. I'm sure that you are familiar with them. And I would try to tell about these portals in a more generic way, not to promote any of it. And the other part of the session will cover actually the alternative ways of promoting, which can actually either extend our promotion using the BIM portal or replace it. It's up to your BIM strategy, which of the option you find more suitable. And at the very end, we will also cover the topic of potentially addressing both ways of promoting the BIM portals and this alternative solution together to even improve the efficiency of our activities even more. So my name is Marcin Michalski. I'm one of the co-founder of BIM Streamer. BIM Streamer is a platform for content management. I graduated computer science at Technical University of Wrocław. I'm working around the BIM technology for something like 3 years from now, starting from 2015, 2016, when one of the manufacturers asked us to provide some BIM solution for them. I was supposed to share this session together with my colleague Jacek. However, due to some unexpected circumstances, he was not able to participate, but I'm sure that I would be able to replace him and present you the knowledge that he wanted to share with you today. So, as I said at the very beginning, we will focus on a very quick recap when it comes to the BIM. So, why the BIM was actually invented? The thing is that the BIM started its origins in 20th century, at the end of the 20th century, because the innovator within the construction sector noticed that the way of designing, the way of preparing the construction design didn't differ that much from the way how we were doing that in the Middle Ages. The only thing that actually changed were the tools that we were using. So instead of using papers or the drawing board, we started using a CAD system, so the computer-aided design. But the way of actually doing the design didn't differ that much. And in Poland, we have this saying that, especially in the construction sector, that the paper accepts everything. And that was the main issue with the traditional way of doing the design. Actually, the project accepted everything because the designers were actually dealing with very abstract, let's say, objects like lines, right? So they didn't actually anticipate all the issues that may happen during the construction time, and later on in the later stages they realized that they need to do some corrections which were costly and also required some additional time and effort. That's why in the end of the 20th century, a new organization was founded called Building Smart, which started promoting a different way of doing the construction. And this different way, well, I'm referring to BIM, of course, was focusing on several aspects which standard, typical way of doing the design was not able to address. So first of all, the idea was to be able to do the clutch detection. So in case of doing the design, we should be able to detect potential conflicts as early as possible in order to address it accordingly sooner. So if we, for instance, prepare the lift shaft and it's in conflict with our piping or air conditioning system, we should be able to detect that at the design phase rather than the construction time. And BIM actually allows us to do that, because instead of working with very abstract things like lines, the designers start dealing with something more tangible, something more concrete. So they started dealing with walls, with slopes, with beams, with lift shafts, windows, and so on. Moreover, due to the fact that we're dealing with the 3D dimensional object, we were able to also quite easily to address the change management. Let's just imagine that if you are actually managing the 2D drawings, which presents different 2D projections of the investment, and you would like to introduce the modification in one place, you probably would need to update each and every drawings, and there could be dozens of them. When it comes to BIM, we're dealing with the 3D projects. The drawings are being generated in an automated way, so we need to introduce the modification only once, and the rest is pretty much generated in an automated way. Of course, we need to remember that there are several aspects when it comes to the disciplines that take part during the. Oh, yeah, Jean actually say hello. Hello, Jean. Pleased to meet you. So, getting back to the session. So, when it comes to the design phase, we need to understand that there are several, let's say, disciplines that take part during the investment. We can talk about the designers, we can talk about the constructor, different disciplines like electricians, plumbers, and so on. They all may use a different set of tools, and very often they are not compatible with each other. So the BIM was introduced something something like we can call it a common language, so to say, for different tools to communicate, and this language is called IFC. Thanks to that, we're able to actually communicate between different disciplines and do, for instance, this clutch detection that I mentioned at the very end, at the very beginning. And last but not least is that the BIM is supposed to be used not only during the design or construction site, but also during the facility management. Even some of the trends are actually explaining the BIM acronym as building information, not only modeling, but also management, because the data which are stored within the BIM projects are very often also used as a digital documentation of the investment and later on used by the facility managers. So when it comes to the BIM history, I would say the father of the BIM is Patrick McLeamy. He's also one of the co-founders of Building Smart, and he came up with something which is called the McLeany curves. And the idea around the McLeany curves was focused on, let's say, several aspects of the process within the construction process. The McLeany noticed that great majority of the time used by the designers are consumed not on the creative design, but on the things which can be in a more or less way somehow automatized. And in the traditional design, he noticed that the great majority of the modification was introduced something between the construction and documentation time. And if you see these two gray curves, the ability to do the change management and the cost of the change management, you see that sorry to ask you at this moment, but I'm leaving the office and I would like to know if this webinar will be recorded. Yes. So the question is that the webinar will be recorded. So no worries. So we can proceed. And so when it comes to the curves that you see on the screens, the one curve is the ability to introduce the modifications. So as you can see at the early stages, we're quite easy to introduce the modification because we have the early stage of the design. the modification, whether we would like to have the building which is double size or half of the size, if we would like to increase the floors, if we would like to increase the square footage, it's quite easy to be achieved. Along the process, it's getting more harder. And actually, in the inverse direction, it's the topic related with the cost of the design changes. So in the later stage of the investment, it's hard to control the cost of the changes, while in the beginning, in the initial phases, it's relatively simple. That's why when it comes to the BIM, the McLeany noticed that we should shift the process of introducing the changes where we can still control the budget and when the modification of the changes are relatively easy. So that's how he came up with the idea of doing the BIM. And in the later stages, the goal was to, at least in partially, automate the process of preparing the documentation, because they wanted the idea of the McLeany approach was to also involve the information within the project. So thanks to that, we came up with BIM, and BIM was actually approved not only by the Building Smart, but also by several other countries available within Europe and within other part of the world, including the US, including even countries from Asia, like, for instance, Singapore. So the popularity of the BIM was caused by the fact that we're able to store not only the 3D geometry within the BIM, but we can also store the information. We are focusing strictly on this webinar on the fact what kind of information manufacturer could use when it comes to BIM. So let's focus on this part. So let's focus on this part of the information. When it comes to this part of the information, we should focus on the content, because according to the Lee Oden, not sure whether you're familiar with this person, he's one of the co-founders of the Top Rank agency. They are doing content marketing from the US. He believes that the content is the reason where the search is actually beginning to start. And from the marketing perspective and from the manufacturer perspective, the BIM could be used as a content marketing tool, because we are able to store within the BIM several important information. First of all, we're able to store the product sheets, quality certificates, technical approvals. We're able to make our content very parametralized. We can customize that based on some smart logic that we can prepare. We can provide different set of product information depending on different, let's say, needs, depending on different users that might use this information, because as I told you at the very beginning, we were talking about several users which might be interested in that. We were talking about the constructors, architects, or even facility managers. And last but not least, we can also use the marketing information also inside it, because BIM gives us that kind of possibility. So when it comes to promotion, how we can promote it. Before we start the seminar, we had some questions about the way how we should prepare the BIM content itself, how it should be organized in a better or worse way. This was not the original reason of creating this webinar. We can of course cover this topic in an independent discussion also during the questions at the Q&A sessions, if we will still have some time. Optionally, you can reach me out via some private calls. But the main focus is that we should adapt this this content in the same way as we're adapting other marketing content. We should decide who is our target groups, what is our product portfolio, what is our target market or target markets, and based on that, we should come up with the proper way of preparing the content. So either we would like to promote some specific regions where they have some specific classification system, most likely we should use them. If we would like to promote our product portfolio on several countries, probably we should adapt the different languages to that. But like I said, when it comes to the BIM content and the way how it should be created, I think that we can have a separate discussion on that. Today, I would like to focus on the way how we would like to promote it. And when it comes to the promotion, I see two ways of doing it. One which is probably which you are probably familiar with, which is the promotion via the BIM portals. Like I said, I don't want to promote any BIM portals, but I'm sure that you know several of them. And the other one is maybe not that known, but also quite powerful. And this is the approach which originates not from construction, but actually originates from marketing technology. And this is actually the way which is called the Omni-Channel, which I'm about to tell you in the later part of the presentation. So let's start with the BIM portals and how it actually works. So the idea when it comes to the BIM portals is pretty simple. So if you are a manufacturer, you would like to prepare the content. Yeah, as we said before, the content is the reason why someone is searching for something. So we probably need to either delegate someone from our internal organization to prepare that content, or look for some potential external provider that prepares this content on our behalf. So the goal is to have the content ready. Once the content is ready, we need to publish it somehow, so the users could actually fetch it and use it in their products, in their projects. This technique in marketing is called the product placement. I'm sure that you've seen lots of different videos, lots of different TV shows, which has this sort of a notification that this show has a product placement involved. And when it comes to the BIM and when it comes to the content that manufacturers should prepare, this is also the same technique is actually being used. So the product placement. So how we would like to know, how we would like to present these solutions to the manufacturer, to the designers. Well, we would like to probably allow them to download it from somewhere. And the obvious choice is to use the BIM portals. The BIM portals are more like, I would say, Amazon or an eBay. It's more like a marketplace where you can push your set of libraries, your content, and they have the range of users which can download it. These users are very targeted because they are usually designers. Once they download it, they can use it in their own design. As simple as it is. And this approach has a quite substantial set of advantages. So first of all, when it comes to the pros of this approach, this is a very, very fast approach. This business model of BIM portals works in the SaaS system. So when it comes to the SaaS systems, you actually have the working portal already. You can start working with them almost immediately. The other thing is that they already have the users which can download the data. So in marketing, I would call it the range. So they have a range of users which are targeted for your potential product portfolio. The other thing is that you don't need to care about supervising of the servers. You don't need to care about supervising of your servers, infrastructure, applications, whatsoever. They are doing that on your behalf. And last but not least, if you don't want to care about the preparation of the BIM content, they can do that on your behalf. And actually, this is one of their main business models to actually provide you BIM content, and it's quite understandable. So if you don't have the internal staff that prepares the BIM content, you can have something like out-of-the-box solution by using the BIM portals. So I told you about the pros, so let's maybe focus a bit about the cons. So what are the disadvantages of this approach? First of all, the BIM portals, like I said at the very beginning, are more like a marketplaces, like an Amazon, like an eBay. So it's more like you need to share your content, so your content is visible among the content of other manufacturers. So it's more like you're sharing the space of the BIM portal with your potential competitors. And it's not that you have some let's say exclusive solutions, exclusive way of promoting your product portfolio. Moreover, the portals are not very often adapted to specific regions. So what I mean by that? So very often I'm not talking about all the portals because some of them are able to support that, but very often they are not able to adapt particular product portfolio to particular market segments. So for instance, I would like to see what are the product portfolio available for this specific market. I would like to have this product portfolio available in this specific language. I would like to have this product portfolio involve a specific classification system for the specific market that I'm working with. Otherwise, I'm not able to use it because it might not be quite useful for me. And great majority of the portals are not capable of addressing that. They just have a command storage for keeping all the data for all the markets. Sometimes they are just reducing the number of products depending on the market, but the content, the information within the BIM objects are usually the same for all the regions. The other thing is that you need to understand that these portals are shared across several manufacturers. So if you would like to tailor this solution to meet your specific product portfolio by providing some specific configurators, selection assistants, or any other type of modification, it's rather impossible, because you also need to understand that these portals are shared with someone else and they need to be generated to meet different types of product portfolio, not only yours. So it's obvious from the portal perspective that they are not able to do that. Moreover, not sure whether you are aware of that, but depending on the regions, different portals are more or less popular. Of course, we have a market leader, which is available on several markets. But if we take a closer look at the local market, take Poland for instance, let's say the market shares look completely different than in the other states. We have a local major player which doesn't exist abroad, but locally it's the player with the largest market share, and the same refers to the UK, Spain, France, Benelux, and so on. So if we would like to address several markets and we would like to provide the best possible user range to our product portfolio, it's most likely that we would need to use more than one portal. What else? Well, the data which are actually inside the BIM portals doesn't belong to you. So you can pay for the access to them, but if you would like to, for instance, own them, if you would like to modify them, if you would like to collect it in a slightly different way, it's relatively impossible. And the other thing is that, well, when you stop working with the BIM portal, you don't have the access to the data anymore. The other thing is that this is also I'm not trying to answer it more like a statement, it's more like a question to you, is to verify whether the BIM portal rather promotes your BIM content or they rather promotes BIM portals. Because in general, when it comes to even this trivial things like a Google search, if you store your content into the external sites, it promotes the external sites. Some of the portals also supports something which is called the iframe. The iframe is a possibility to store their let's say portal inside your site. But from the Google search perspective, it's considered as a foreign content, and Google search promotes the originations of the content rather than the place where it is embedded. So in this case, it would still be beneficial for the portals. And last but not least is like I said, the BIM portals very often prepares also the content. And if you would like to prepare the content on your own, they might introduce some quite sophisticated mechanism of validation of your content, so that they could discourage you from creating the content on your own. And the other thing is that, and I can blame them, they have their own standard of the content that they have on their portal. It's understandable, and they need to verify whether the content is actually cohesive with the other manufacturer content. And that's why this validation process from the manufacturer perspective might be a bit of inconvenient. Okay, so I think that we've covered more or less the topic of promoting of the BIM portals. We were talking about the pros, we were talking about the cons. I hope everything is clear for you. Let's talk about these alternative solutions, which is the Omni-Channel. But before we start with the Omni-Channel, I will do something like a short intro to what the Omni-Channel really is, and a bit of marketing technology backgrounds is also necessarily to move forward. So let's start with that. So in order to understand the Omni-Channel, we need to understand the users that we wanted to reach. As I said at the very beginning, we are actually dealing not only with a single type of users, like for instance designers, but from the manufacturer perspective, we're literally dealing with a variety of different types of users. So when it comes to the variety of the users, we can differentiate them depending on, let's say, two major factors. The first factor is more like the user type. So the user, whether we are dealing with the investors, whether we're dealing with the designers, general contractors, service professionals, B2B dealers, and so on. We have several users which we might wanted to reach out as a manufacturers. And the other factor is more that the localization of the user. So whether they're originating from Poland, from Germany, from the UK, US, Asia, whatsoever. Of course, we can be even more precise in the later stages. So probably the age would also matters, right? And several other factors too. But in general, due to the fact that the user differs from each other, they might use a different way of actually communicating with our brand, with our product portfolio. So some of them might be interested in going to the physical stores to actually collect the items, like for instance, service professionals which are about to do the installation of our equipment at the construction site. Some of them might be interested in calling a call center to ask for clarification. Some of them, like the designers, might be willing to use the BIM portals or Revit plugins or ArchiCAD plugins or whatever to actually fetch our product library. Facility managers might be interested in a slightly different set of feature, maybe some mobile application which they can use to actually manage to actually service our product properly during the FM phase. And when it comes to the sales representative or investors, they can also be interested in a different set of information using a different set of tools. For instance, lately it's getting more and more popular to use virtual and augmented reality to promote our product portfolio. This can have a quite vast spectrum of utilization. For instance, if you are a sales representative and you're on the trade fairs, you would like to use the, mobile application with the augmented or virtual reality feature to present a product portfolio, which in other ways would not be possible to present because, for instance, your product portfolio is too great, your products are too large to actually be transported, or it's too expensive to do that. So in order to actually understand that, we need to understand that we need to communicate with a different user in a different way, using a different means of communication. And when it comes to the marketing technology, these means of communications are called channels. So the physical store could be a channel, the BIM portal could be a channel, the Revit plugin could be a channel, and the mobile application could be a channel. And manufacturers start seeing that already and start using several channels at once to address several types of users. And this approach is called multi-channel communication. The issue with the multi-channel communication is that very often these channels are not interconnected with each other, and actually having a proper information in all the channels at once is becoming a hassle. The hassle becomes because you need to look after each and every channel product information that you wanted to distribute separately, and it generates tedious work, and it also generates potential human errors. So actually, marketing technology came up with the solution. And the solution is called Omni-Channel. When it comes to the omni-channel, the idea is to control your product information from a central location and distribute this information to all connected channels at once. Moreover, you're also able to control which set of data should go to each and every channel. So you can specify whether this set of information should go to architects in UK and this set of information should go to service professional in the DACH region. And you're able to control that centrally, so you don't need to care about each and every channel independently, because everything is more like coming from the single source of truth, which is your, and what is the single source of truth? In marketing technology, it's called a PIM. A PIM is, it states from product information management, and this is something like a product information database. Of course, some of the manufacturer may call it differently. Some of the manufacturer can call it master data management. Some of the manufacturer may also use solutions like DAM, so digital asset management systems. Some of them might use PDMs, ERPs, SAPs, and some of them can just use standard Excel sheets. Believe it or not, it is still quite widely used, but as far as it's centralized, it can be managed properly. And the idea is to have this set of information located centrally and connect all the integrated channels so that they can start using it. Thanks to that, if we would like to update some set of data, we don't need to remember about updating them separately for our online catalog, for our BIM library, for our Revit plugin, for our mobile application, or even for our print catalog. The idea is to have it controlled from a central perspective, but also adapt to particular customer types, to particular segments, and so on, to particular channels. And this is more like the way how it is done in the marketing technology approach. And due to the fact that we as Bim Streamer, we're actually originating from marketing technology, we took this approach while we were thinking about using it within the BIM sector, within the construction sector. So how we actually adapted the omni-channel to the construction sector, to the BIM world? Well, first of all, the idea was to have something like an admin panel. The admin panel for managing the BIM content, for managing distributing, versioning, and so on. And this admin panel was supposed to be connected with the product information data source. This could be as I mentioned, this could be the PIM system, this could be the ERP, SAP, even an Excel sheet. This could also be the case. But the idea is not to duplicate the content, because if we duplicate the content, then it means that we need to remember about updating the content in several places. We wanted to avoid that. Yeah. So the idea is to have a single source of truth somewhere, and we should use it. The another concept was to actually provide a real BIM file into the admin panel. The BIM file should contain all the important logic that is relevant to your product portfolio, that is relevant to your specific features of your product, that is not limited to some intermediate formats, which later on can reduce the native BIM file possibilities. No, the real native file, but, and this is important, without any relevant set of information. The relevant set of information should be available in the product information systems, Excel, PDMs, BIM, whatever. And the goal is to combine them together in an automated way. Because as McLeany mentioned, we just wanted to reduce the things which can be fully automatized, which is tedious and generates lots of errors. That's why we wanted to combine both the product information together with the 3D geometry all together in an automated way. Moreover, due to the fact that we're sucking the data from the product information systems, we're able to specify whether this particular BIM file that we're generating should be available in several languages, what kind of attributes they should provide for specific regions, for specific channels, for specific target groups. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, the BIM is used also during the facility management. So this could be the case that we should be able to provide the historical data of our product portfolio, especially even right now when this trend of digital twins is getting more and more popular. The possibility to provide the historical data is also quite relevant. That's why we came up with the idea that we not only should generate the objects, combine them with the 3D geometry, prepare different language-specific, region-specific files, but we should also be able to version them, so that if someone asks you as a manufacturer to provide the BIM object for the product he bought, let's say 2 or 3 years ago, you would be able to provide it out of the box in an easy and managed way. And like I said at the very beginning, it doesn't matter how good your content is if no one knows about it. So we also came up with the idea that we should also be able to publish it. We should be able to publish the content into whatever places we find relevant. So if we would like to have our content available on our site, we should publish it over there. If we would like to have our content available in the mobile application with the augmented reality feature, we should publish it over there. If you would like to have our Revit plugin, ArchiCAD plugin, whatever other platform plugin, we should be able to publish it over there. If you would like to use an external channels, like for instance BIM portals, we should be able to publish it over there, and any other places that we find relevant. But the goal is to control that from the central location, so that we can control which data goes where. We're reducing the human error, and we're able to start managing the content instead of just publishing a bunch of files over some specific channels. And this, thanks to the Omni-Channel and the combination of BIM and Omni-Channel, the idea is to address several pros, I would say. So first of all, we're able to control the data centrally. We don't need to remember that, oh, I need to update it over here, I need to update it over here, I forgot to update it for Germany, I forgot to update it for the UK. No, we're controlling that centrally. The other thing is that the data are always up to date. A friend of mine is preparing a BIM content for the manufacturers. And I asked him once, he's from Portugal, so his name is Antonio. So I asked him once, Antonio, what about the data update? And he told me, yeah, this is a hassle. You know, we have something like a separate contract for that. We're updating the data within the content every 6 months, but we're also limiting the number of attributes because it's quite, let's say, problematic to update them all if we would like to include large amount of data. And when it comes to the omni-channel approach, there is no such thing like update every 6 months. There is an update instantly with the unlimited amount of attributes that you would like to address, because it happens in an automated way. The other thing is the channel adaptation. So if you would like to address different markets, if you would like to address different channels, we can specify, for instance, that for the Benelux, we should include E-team, MC classification within the BIM files. If we're addressing the DACH region, maybe we should use E-class. Other regions would be interested in the Uni-class, Omni-class. Maybe we should have some local specific certificates, technical approvals, even languages, or something as trivial as metric systems might also differ. Thanks to the BIM and the combination with our product information central management master data, wherever we have it, we're able to control that. Moreover, why should we limit to use one or another channel if we don't know whether we would like to use BIM portals or our own online libraries? Why can't we just use both? Yeah. So the goal is to actually go in a multi-channel way by control it centrally. Doesn't matter whether these channels are our own ones or maybe some external partners. Moreover, we're able to collect the data. We're able to collect the data from several places. We can specify which markets, which types of users, which types of products are more popular for this or that. And when it comes to the ownership, this is also quite substantial, which is very, very often neglected. But the idea was to actually provide a solution which can be installed on the manufacturer infrastructure, so that the manufacturer is the only owner of the data which is collected. And moreover, it can also, due to the fact that the solution is more like a individual for each and every manufacturer, it can be customized so that manufacturer can decide which data are more or less relevant and which should be collected and which shouldn't. Yeah, so like I said before, the principle that we have while we are creating the omni-channel solution for BIM was to actually provide something which is exclusive, which can be fully customized, which can actually be tailored to particular product portfolio of specific manufacturer. Because if we would do something pretty much generic, which is shared across several other players, it would be hard to make something very much, let's say, tailor-made, right? And last but not least is the fact of promotion. So we wanted to actually stop thinking whether the BIM content is promoting the BIM portals or the manufacturer. Our goal was to actually focus on promoting literally manufacturers, so they could actually use their own sites, they could actually use their own brands, they could actually use their own systems to promote the BIM content. And I think that was more like a summary of this omni-channel approach. And when it comes to let's say something like a quick catch-up of comparing these two approaches, I wanted to compare it to using a public transport and using your own car. Each of this solution has its pros and cons. There is no silver bullet, I would say. It's not that one solution is better than the other. I would say that one solution is better for one BIM strategy, while the other one is better for the other BIM strategy. And like I said, you can also combine them both together. But when it comes to the BIM portals, I would say that it's more like a public transport. So you're buying a ticket, let's say, for a train from Stuttgart to Frankfurt, and you can enter the train. You don't have to care about servicing the train. You don't have to care about the payroll of the employees. You don't have to care about literally nothing related with the infrastructure, with the rails and so on. You just need to buy the ticket. But you have some limitation. First of all, you're sharing the seats with the other passengers. You're not able to change the way how the train looks like. You can't paint it in red. It's not yours. And you know, once you get out of the train, then you have nothing, right? Of course, if you'd like to get into the train once again, so you'd like to buy another ticket, you need to pay for another ticket, and so on. So when it comes to the omni-channel strategy, I would compare it with more like a car. So you buy a car, and you can drive as many miles as you want. You can drive wherever you want. You can actually change. You can paint the car in whatever color you like. You can even customize the car. You can make it as a cabriolet or whatever. But you need to fill in the tank. You need to go to service. So like I said, there are different approaches. There are different, let's say, advantages of each and every solution. And it's more like up to you which solution is best for you. And it actually depends, I would say, on your BIM maturity and your, let's say, long and short-term strategy when it comes to the BIM. So we tried to diversify the BIM maturity into several stages, starting from the starter maturity, ending on more advanced one. And I'm about to show you this maturity level in the next slide. So let's start with the starter maturity level. So one of the simplest way of using of entering the BIM is actually to use the Bim portal. They have a they have a wide range of users. You don't need to do any setup on your own. You just need to provide the content, or they can provide the content on your behalf, and you're done. Quite simple, quite quick, depending on the amount of content you need to provide, of course, but relatively smooth to be conducted. Alternative option for the starter is to, if you really care about promoting your own site, and this is more like a goal for you, is that you can, for instance, use our online library, which is also available in a free version, which you can then install on your servers and upload the Bim content over there. Thanks, it's also quite easy to set up, and it requires similar effort as using Bim portals. The only difference is to actually the fact that you're promoting your site for sure, and this is unquestionable. But let's consider that you are more advanced and you would like to use something more sophisticated, because, for instance, you're trying to address several markets, you're trying to address several types of users, or maybe even several channels. So let's imagine that you're in intermediate maturity level. So with this maturity level, you might be interested in introducing some part of the omni-channel already. For instance, apart from the online library that I mentioned at the very beginning, you might be also interested in using a Bim solution similar to Bim Streamer Server, which can automatically, in an automated way, combine you the data with the 3D geometry file, which can generate the content specific to particular regions, which can allows you to do the versioning of the historical files, do the publications to your online libraries, and also if you would like to control different level of the information or level of details, because, for instance, you would like to optimize the sizes of your file, this could also be a solutions for you. And last but not least, you really care about the information. So if you care about the information, you would like to have this information always up to date. And if you want to update the product information manually, then this could be an issue. That's why if you really care about the information, I think that you're on the intermediate level already. We can go a bit more, so we call it the intermediate plus. The intermediate plus is one step ahead. So you would like to have a different product portfolio on a different markets. Especially if you're an international manufacturer, this could also be the case that for let's say France, you would like to have a different, or Spain, you would like to have a different product portfolio than, for instance, for Scandinavia. Take HVAC manufacturer, for instance. If you're, let's say, manufacturing solar systems, stoves, or heat pumps, probably you would like to have a different product portfolio in Spain. Maybe the heat pumps and stoves are not that relevant. Maybe solar systems are more relevant, and different for Scandinavia. Maybe solar systems are not that important over there, but heat pumps for sure. Of course, like I mentioned at the very beginning, we don't have to limit ourselves to only our channels. We can also use external channels. Take Bim portals, for instance, or even some B2B partners that are actually selling our products. These could also be channels where you could publish your content. The only thing that the channels need to provide is something which is called the API. The API states from the application programming interface, and let's say in normal words, I would say that it's more like a door through which we can get in and provide some content, and that's it. The omni-channel strategy assumes that you can have unlimited amount of channels that you wanted to distribute your data. And I would say the highest maturity level, we call it an advanced, is that you're really working in a full omni-channel. So you're not only using a common way of promoting the BIM approach, like online libraries, web BIM portals, Revit, ArchiCAD, or any other BIM plugins, but maybe you could also allow your target users to actually immerse in your product portfolio. And you can do that, for instance, by means of mobile application, where you could distribute your content, where you could use the augmented reality feature, which allows you to actually present it literally like it would stay just next to you. And the goal is to have everything in sync. And this is the great thing about the omni-channel concept, is to have everything centrally controlled, because you can have several mobile applications, online libraries, even your own online catalog or external BIM systems. But as long as you need to control each and every of them manually, you're generating additional hassle, and you're generating potential human errors, which are hard to actually underestimate. And once we have all of this set up, we're able to, for instance, do something like that. So right now I'm showing you the mobile application, for instance, which can be used as one of your marketing channels. This mobile application is part of Bim Streamer platform. It's connected with Bim Streamer server. The Bim Streamer server provides the data, which are always up to date, and can quite easily present your product portfolio on different trade fairs, or it can be used as part of your sales representative of the presentation. Before we continue, I would like to ask you kindly to fill in the survey. I think that you see the survey right now. Veronica, if you be so kind, could you allow the survey to be right now questions? We are very happy to receive the feedback from you guys. Of course, if you have any questions, I think that we have still some up to 5 minutes to answer them. So I'm still open for any discussions if you would like to clarify something. Okay. Yes. What exactly do you mean by tailoring BIM objects to specific regions? Okay, so like I said, depending on different regions, I might be interested in using different classification system like Uniclass, Omniclass, eTeam, like different technical approval, quality certificates, like even different languages and metric systems. For instance, in the US, they are using the Imperial metric system and English language, and in Germany they are using the SI system and German language. So as simple as it is, and the goal is to actually be able to provide the BIM content which is tailored to specific region, which is tailored to specific market, but not to spend time and money on actually doing that manually. Okay, I see that Pedro is writing something. How many manufacturers are you working with right now? Okay, so we are working with several manufacturers. Some of the manufacturers are already live. Like, for instance, you can check the rollplug.com, and some of them are still not live, and we are not able to tell you exactly the names, as the rollout of the solutions for some of the manufacturers will be available in, I think, in the first quarter of next year, maybe beginning of second. Okay. So if you don't have a database or a PIM system, can I implement solution in the form of omni-channel? Oh, yeah. Okay. So yes, some of the manufacturers still don't have any central database of the product information, and they just use Excel sheets that we're connecting to. And usually these Excel sheets are available on some network drive from which we're fetching the data. The goal, in general, the goal is not to send the files in some sort of a copies, because then everyone has a copy on its own. The goal is to have if you don't have any central system, it's good to have either an Excel sheet or even a Google Docs, but to have it centrally located. Not sure whether this is the answer for your question, Piotr. Okay. Any other questions? What about the public tenders? Can we customize product information so that we can use the? Oh, okay. So this is quite interesting questions. Yeah. So BIMstreamer even provide in general omni-channel, but BIMstreamer in particular should provide, and BIMstreamer does that. Provides a mechanism of anonymization of the product. So when we're generating the BIM files, we are also able to generate the anonymized version of the files. So if there are some designers that would like to use them for the public tenders, we're able to generate the content which is anonymized and which we control how it should be anonymized. So that was the long answer. The short answer is that we can do that by creating a specific version of the file, which is also generated automatically. Okay, are there any other questions? All right, I think I take silence as no. So I think that we can get back to our summary. And like I said, if some of you would like to get in contact with us, either to receive some additional information or just to even get a slide deck from this presentation, don't hesitate to type us an email at contact@bimstreamer.com. Please ask what is your inquiry, whether you need the slide deck, whether you need any additional information, and we would be more than happy to answer it. So anyway, thank you very much for participation in this meeting. I hope you find it beneficial for you. And in case you have any feedback when it comes to the way how the presentation was conducted, you can always send us an email. We're always open for the constructive feedback, because we always want to improve and present you the best quality content. So thank you very much, and I hope that we will be able to see each other on the next webinar.